A few weeks ago, I did a thing I don't normally do. I played electric guitar in church, and here's how it went. Now, I had amazing tone, and the thing I use, which is solution number 1, which is this, which is, look, it's so easy, so light. Still my favorite piece of gear from 2020, probably my favorite piece of gear of the last 10 years. This is the Fender Tone Master Deluxe Reverb. I really like this amp. And, but even, okay, so the way our church is set up, you don't really have to know this, but I'm Anglican, and so we don't, like, musicians aren't up front. Musicians are always off to the sides. And so where we are in the building is like, I mean, maybe 10 feet, 8 feet from people that are sitting there. And so even with the Tone Master all the way down, it was still too loud. And so I need a solution that is brilliantly quiet. I need a silent solution for amazing guitar tones, and I feel like I finally figured it out. Now, I am a bit late to the game because these pedals are hard to use. I want you to hear that, I want you to know that, and to not feel freaked out when you get them. So it took me a couple weeks to figure this out, but here they are. I have the Universal Audio, I have the Dream 65, which is a deluxe reverb type amp in a pedal. I also have the Ruby 63, which is a Vox AC style amp. So here is the premise of this video. You need silent, great guitar tone because most situations, live music continues to get quieter. And so the idea of you showing up with a 112 tube amp and just getting to just dime that thing and blow out the back wall, just those days are over. There's so many reasons why, but you need good tone at lower volumes. Signal path, super simple. Polytune, Ruby, Dream into the Radial DI. Now the DI is going out into a Universal Audio Apollo, and then all of this is powered by the MXR DC Brick. So that's my preset, and basically it's a deluxe reverb at around 5.5. Here's the setup with tremolo. So those are some of my favorite tones. I mean, basically the way I would use this is just like I would use a regular deluxe reverb, which is on the edge of breakup. So kind of push it, but not overdrive it. I mean, we can crank it all the way. There it is now. Let's try out the Ruby. Attention to this. I need you to see me. Okay, so this is the thing I don't like about these pedals. If you don't have a speaker emulation on, they will get super fizzy and just sound really unnatural. Listen to this. Understand part of that also is that is the setting that it should be when you're running it into an amplifier. I have not had as much success running these as pedals. one is the Dream 65, basically a deluxe reverb. Top left, you have the volume of the amp itself. In the middle, you have the reverb control. Top right is the pedal output. Then on the bottom, you have bass, treble, and boost. And then in addition, you have these 3 dip switches in the middle. On the left, you have all of your speaker sims, and you can turn those all the way off. If you register the pedal with Universal Audio through the app and the website, you get 3 more speaker combos included, which are actually some of my favorite. My favorite preset is a super reverb cabinet with a deluxe reverb, which sounds freaking awesome. So it gives it a little tighter, little more squishy with the 412 cabinet. So you have the speaker sims on one side. Then in the middle, you can basically control the different components of the amp. The middle switch is going to control both your amp controls, so that's when your bass and your treble would be affected. But also, if you click it up, you're able to control both the speed and intensity of the tremolo, as if you were to have another, if you're running into the vibrato channel. Now, the second pedal that I went for is the Ruby 65. And so the Ruby 65 is basically an AC style circuit. So this is, think Brian May, think that kind of rock and roll. This is not a kind of amp that I have that much experience with. I worked at a Fender dealer. We sold Fender, we sold PV. Occasionally we would get Mesa Boogies and Marshalls. I very rarely had any encounters growing up just in the wild with a Vox kind of amplifier. Now, with that, I've had the most trouble kind of getting this to sound good or the way that I would expect or want it to sound, but once you get it dialed in, it sounds awesome. So the 3 controls on the Ruby, number 1, you have just the volume of the amp, similar to the Deluxe Reverb and to the Dream 65. So this is the actual amp itself. Now most of these, they sound amazing when you get above 6 or 7. In the middle, you have a cut, which is an iconic kind of Vox control of tone. It gives you this blend between bass and treble, and you seem to be moving a notch in the EQ. I don't totally understand how this works, but it sounds awesome, and you can really kind of dial in really cocked wah kind of tones. Now the right is the output of the pedal itself, and then inside you can change between the different channels of the amplifier. You can change between the different controls. You can add tremolo. You can also change between the different speaker sims. Same thing with this. If you do if you register this with the app, you get 3 more speaker combos, and so you get to do all kinds of cool things and different mods to the amp itself. And then all of that, on both of these pedals, you still have the 2 buttons, which one is a preset and one is you can do a live sound. You can also configure these in many different ways through the app. But for me, what I found is I like having a preset on the right side and then a live amp on the left. And with that, I can just kind of dial into the room that I'm in. Now, both of these, to get the absolute most out of both of these, I then run them into a Radial DI. Thank you, Radial Engineering, for donating or for sponsoring this video. So these, all 3 of these things came from Sweetwater. And so anyway, and they're all powered by an MXR Power Brick. This is one that I just bought myself. And then I have a Polytune on here. So basically, this is my 2 amplifiers. I can bring this with me to church, and I can have a completely silent, completely awesome sounding amp. And so these are amps, reverb, tremolo, pretty much everything I would need. I can also run a pedal board in front of this like a normal guitar amp. So anyway, I like this. I think I'm going to hang on to this is the way of the future. So here's the bottom line of what you need to know coming out of this video. Number 1, live music is continuing to get quieter, and you need more control and better tone at lower volumes. Because think about next time you're out at a restaurant, you are not hearing bands so loud that it hurts your ears. You're hearing them, they sound like recorded music, like off in the distance. They're a lot quieter. So just all of that is coming for us. And I think that's also coming out of COVID tide and just having more outdoor seating, more music outside, so anyway. Now the other part that you have to have is you need to have a pedal board, or you need to add one of these pedals to your board so that you can be silent and you can just plug in with an XLR. So in order to do that and get the best tone, this is the very bottom line. Coming out of these pedals, if you plug straight into a 1/4 inch, it's going to sound lifeless, ice picky, not great. Also, if you run these into a PA and you're not using the speaker sends correctly, because you can also run these through different IRs, through different cabinets, and when you do that, it adds a lot of just processing to the signal that if it's going into a guitar amp, it's just redundant and it doesn't sound good. Still don't totally know why, but it really is not an enjoyable thing. To get the best tones out of these, you run them straight into a DI, and then the DI goes out through a microphone, and then you can go into a PA. Now, once I've settled this out, it sounds killer, but these pedals are tricky. I mean, they are full on computers processing incredible amps, giving you great tones, but it's kind of like if you're into photography or videography, if you know Adobe's not concerned about stuff being easy for you. Now, I think Universal Audio is not Adobe. They're doing a thing really, really well here, but they're a little tricky to get used to. So anyway, that is my video. That is, yeah, that's basically the rundown on these two pedals.